Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're going to get into our first month-long astrology video, or monthly astrology video. We're going to cover the month of December. I've done a couple of weekly astrology videos so far, and we'll get into the first week of December after this video. That'll be the next one after this. But this will be our introduction to our monthly astrology videos. So if you've been here before, you probably noticed that I've had a change of scenery. I was getting tired of the blank wall, of course. I was hesitant to move myself over near the window over here because I have a dog and he likes to hang out over here on the couch. So we may have a special guest pop in every once in a while, but I think this looks a lot cleaner than just the boring wall. So let's get into the week of December here. So we start off pretty strong. We have a full moon. We have a super full moon in Gemini on the first week of December. So December 2025 is a month of transition that blends the buoyant optimism of Sagittarius season with the sobering pragmatism of Capricorn. With a super full moon in Gemini lighting up the sky early in the month and a new moon in Sagittarius later on. And of course, Capricorn, because Capricorn season comes on the 21st of December, right? So this period encourages both mental curiosity and philosophical renewal. The planetary landscape is active. Mercury re-enters Sagittarius, Mars shifts into Capricorn, and Venus and the Sun eventually follow suit. So each week brings a fresh mix of enthusiasm, challenge, and maturation. So I don't really think it's worth it to go over every single aspect that's taking place throughout the entire month of December, because we'll be breaking those down individually in our weekly astrology videos as we go along through the month. But I will just kind of quickly go over any of the major ones. Like we have the full moon in Gemini, or the super full moon in Gemini. And then that'll be on December 4th on the first week. And then I'll kind of just go over a description of a breakdown of each week one at a time. And yeah, so we'll go from there. So the first week of December, which is December 1st to December 7th, the general theme of this week is going to be balancing optimism with realism. Yeah, the super full new moon in Gemini is pretty much the only major thing that's happening on the first week of December. So as December opens, Sagittarius season urges us to dream big, yet an edgy alignment between the Sun and Jupiter on Monday reminds us that enthusiasm needs to be grounded in reality. You may feel restless to take on more than you can handle, so pace yourself and allow room for revision. On Tuesday, Venus sextiles Pluto, deepening relationship dynamics and sharpening your financial instincts. Use this energy to connect authentically with others and investigate what truly motivates your desires. Midweek, the super full new moon in Gemini brings talkative, mutable energy to the forefront. Occurring on Thursday evening, this full moon illuminates the tension between facts and feelings, short-term errands, and long-term goals. Because the moon travels through Gemini for the event, mental stimulation runs high and conversations buzz with information. Yet the Sun remains in Sagittarius, demanding that you integrate disparate pieces into a cohesive narrative. Challenge yourself to broaden your perspective without getting lost in trivialities. Thursday also carries Mercury's awkward quincunx to Chiron. You might stumble over words or become aware of unresolved communication wounds. Rather than forcing clarity, give yourself space to listen and adjust on Thursday on the first week of December. On Friday, the Sun squares the North Node while Mars trines with Chiron. This dynamic pits personal ambitions against collective growth, but simultaneously offers bravery to confront your vulnerability. Stand up for what you believe in while acknowledging how your actions affect your community. Over the weekend, Mercury forms a buoyant trine to Jupiter, expanding ideas and encouraging big thinking. Venus makes a tense sesquiquadrate to Chiron. However, which may stir up old insecurities around love or money. On Sunday, Mars quincunxes Jupiter. Mercury trines Saturn, and Venus sesquiquadrates Jupiter. The cosmic message is to refine your vision by putting realistic structures in place and tempering enthusiasm with patience. The moon in Cancer from Saturday evening onward helps you tune into emotional needs and create supportive environments. So the first week of December asks you to reconcile big dreams with practical considerations. This full moon in Gemini highlights information overload, urging you to separate facts from noise and to communicate more mindfully. Use Venus-Pluto's depth to uncover what truly matters in relationships, and rely on Mercury's trine to Jupiter and Saturn to articulate your plans with optimism and discipline. By the end of the week, you'll understand that growth requires both open-minded curiosity and a willingness to commit. So that's the first week of December. We'll just move on to week 2 right here. No major transits really this week, so I'll just jump into the overview breakdown. So the second week of December that tests resilience and adaptability, with Monday's double whammy of the Sun semi-square with Pluto and Mars square with Saturn creates friction. You might confront authority figures, encounter delays, or feel hemmed in by responsibilities. Rather than fighting the current, see these roadblocks as opportunities to refine your goals and strengthen your resolve. Meanwhile, the moon's ingress in Leo on Monday morning adds a theatrical flair to your reactions. Channel this dramatic energy into creative problem solving instead of ego battles. On Tuesday, the Sun's biquintile to Jupiter encourages you to try unconventional approaches in your life. Biquintiles are creative aspects that suggest genius vibes, so brainstorming new strategies could pay off on Tuesday. By Wednesday, Mercury opposes Uranus and simultaneously makes a healing biquintile to Chiron. Expect a sudden insight, surprising news, and possible disruptions in travel or technology. Staying flexible and open-minded will allow you to turn unexpected twists into breakthroughs. Because the moon moves into practical Virgo on that morning, you'll crave order and analysis amidst all of the chaos. Thursday is one of the more spiritually attuned days on the second week of December here. Venus squares with the North Node, signaling fated crossroads in relationships and with values. While Mercury trines Neptune, opening channels to imagination and compassion. Combined with Mercury's return to Sagittarius on the same day, conversations become philosophical and idealistic. Later on Thursday, the last quarter moon occurs in Virgo, inviting you to refine your plans and release what isn't working for you. The weekend brings complex dynamics. On Saturday, Mars quincunxes Uranus and Mercury sextiles with Pluto. The quincunx indicates that impulses to break free may clash with practical considerations. Use Mercury-Pluto's strategic depth to negotiate and to plan. Sunday is a kaleidoscope of aspects. Mars squares Neptune, fog and uncertainty. The Sun trines Chiron, healing confidence. And Venus semi-squares Pluto, intense desires. Venus biquintiles with Jupiter, creative expansion. And the Sun quincunxes Jupiter, balancing generosity with moderation. With the moon in Libra over the weekend, focusing on fairness and equilibrium will help you navigate all of this complexity. So in week 2, this week underscores the importances of flexibility. Challenges with authority and structure early on nudge you towards maturity, while midweek surprise tests your ability to adapt. Relationship decisions on Thursday may feel predestined, especially as Mercury's return to Sagittarius encourages a broader outlook. By the end of the week, the cosmic mix of action, confusion, healing, and expansion invites you to integrate lessons from many directions. Trust that staying open to new perspectives and fine-tuning your approach will prepare you for the transformative shifts to come. So if you've made it this far in the video, I'd really appreciate it if you could drop a like on this video and subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be doing these monthly videos once a month at the beginning of every month, and I'm also going to be breaking down each of these weeks right prior to each of these weeks coming up as they happen. So if you're enjoying this content and would like to see more of it and help support my channel, then please like, subscribe, and leave a comment with your thoughts if you would be so kind. So we're moving into week 3 of December here. The theme is grounding big dreams and laying new foundations. Mars enters Capricorn on December 15th. So that would be our first major transit of week 3. And then we have also the new moon in Sagittarius. So there's a lot of Sagittarius activity happening in the 3rd week of December, or in December overall. There's a lot of Sagittarius and Capricorn going on. So I'll just start off with week 3 right now. So the 3rd week of December marks a turning point as the cosmos pivots from mutable to cardinal energy. On Monday, Mars enters Capricorn, signaling a shift towards strategic, structured action. After weeks of exploring possibilities in Sagittarius, you now feel called to build something concrete. This is the turn from Sagittarius to Capricorn, of course. The moon in Scorpio that day amplifies focus and emotional intensity, encouraging you to commit to your deepest priorities. And you know, when you really think about it, the next couple of weeks and the next few months really are going to be very heavy Sagittarius and Capricorn. I mean, Saturn, well, not necessarily that, but Jupiter, Saturn, because we've had Jupiter trining here a whole bunch with Venus and you know, squaring up and everything. And then we've got everything well, not everything. We've got Mercury going into Sagittarius. We've got the Sun in Sagittarius. We've got Venus just gone into Sagittarius. And then we have Mars going into Sagittarius. And then all of those planets, and the moon, of course, during that time, and then all of those planets are going to shift from Sagittarius into Capricorn. So that's taking us from a very Jupiter-heavy time to a very Saturn-heavy time. And then as we get, I mean, this goes beyond December, but we go through Capricorn season to the middle of January, and then come around mid-February, we're going to have Saturn entering into Aries, and there's going to be a solar eclipse in Aquarius. And so we got a lot of heavy Saturn stuff going on in Jupiter as well, with this Sagittarius, Capricorn, and all of that. So Tuesday of the 3rd week of December brings a creative yet sobering combination. Mars forms a quintile with the North Node, hinting at faded opportunities, while the Sun squares Saturn, emphasizing limitations and the need for patience. And again, that's that Sagittarius squaring up with Saturn there, because the Sun is in Sagittarius. And not to mention, we have a 3-eye atlas that's coming through the solar system. That would be the third interstellar object that has come through our solar system, and it's coming from the constellation of Sagittarius. It's stopped by Mars, gone by Venus, and will be passing by us if it doesn't stop and take a turn directly to us. But if it does continue on, it's going to be exiting the solar system, going right past Jupiter. So it's almost as if Jupiter is pulling from its domain of Sagittarius, and then, you know, in Sagittarius season, we have all of this kind of coming to a climax, I guess. Or, well, we'll see what happens in that regard. So on Tuesday, if you experience delays or criticism, there we go. Hey, everybody, this is Kenny. This is my good boy, Kenny. Hey, say hello to everybody, Kenny. Would you like to say hello? Make your debut on YouTube? No? Kenny's a good boy. All right, buddy. I'm going to continue on. Hey, you can be a good boy for me? Yes, of course. All right. So, where were we? I was saying if you encounter delays or criticism, respond with maturity and resilience. These obstacles help refine your goals. On Wednesday, Mercury's sesquiquadrates to Chiron and Jupiter stir mental friction. You might feel torn between self-improvement and enthusiasm, but this is an excellent time to address nagging insecurities and ensure you're not exaggerating capabilities. Thursday's aspects reveal hidden strengths. Mars semi-sextiles Pluto, a subtle alignment that encourages you to utilize latent resources. Venus forms a healing trine to Chiron and a quincunx to Jupiter. There's Jupiter again, guiding you to nurture relationships while maintaining healthy boundaries. Meanwhile, the moon transitions from Scorpio into what? Sagittarius on Thursday afternoon, lightening the mood and stirring wanderlust. So Thursday, Friday are going to be really interesting on that third week because we have the moon in Sagittarius while we have all of these other planets in Sagittarius. Friday evening hosts the new moon in Sagittarius at 28 degrees of the sign, occurring just before the solstice. This lunation invites you to set intentions around exploration, education, and your belief systems. Because Mercury simultaneously squares the North Node and Mars forms a biquintile to Uranus, you may feel pulled between comfort zones and daring new directions. The Sun also squares Neptune that night, blurring reality and fantasy. Take time to meditate or journal to gain clarity before committing. So we have the Sun squaring Neptune. That's again Sun in Sagittarius squaring Neptune in Pisces because Neptune's retrograded back into Pisces and it's still there for a while. Sunday is packed with astrological shifts. The Sun enters Capricorn, ushering in a season of ambition, responsibility, and long-term planning. And of course, Capricorn season is the darkest sign of the year, ushering in the darkest time of the year, right? The dead of winter, the darkest season of the year. Venus simultaneously squares Saturn, and the Sun quintiles the North Node, while Jupiter squares Chiron. These combined influences ask you to balance commitment with compassion. Relationships may feel heavy, but they're also poised for healing. With the moon in Capricorn by Sunday morning, you'll be ready to climb mountains, literally or metaphorically. Week 3's narrative is about grounding your aspirations and embracing responsibility. The new moon encourages you to plant seeds for future adventures, while Mars's entrance into Capricorn ensures that you have the stamina to follow through. And then, yeah, so the Sagittarius would be that theme of adventure, but then the shift into Capricorn turns it into more of a climb, a hard work, steady climb, rather than an adventure, which, of course, is still an adventure, but you know, that's the themes we've got here. All of the Sagittarius Capricorn being thrown around all over. So Saturnian themes of discipline and maturity arise repeatedly, emphasizing that growth sometimes requires restraint. By the end of the week, as the Sun settles into Capricorn and solstice energy anchors your intentions, you'll feel equipped to turn dreams into tangible achievements. So that's the third week of December all wrapped up, and we'll move on to our final week here, the fourth week of December. So the final full week of December interweaves festive gatherings with deep introspection, because of course this is where we're going to be finding Christmas, New Year's, and all of the other festivities that take place at the end of December. So on Tuesday, a complex bundle of aspects signals shifting dynamics. Venus's quincunx to Uranus invites unexpected changes in relationships or in finances, while Mercury's biquintile to Jupiter encourages optimistic, creative dialogue. At the same time, the Sun makes a subtle semi-sextile to Pluto, hinting at quiet power plays, and Venus quintiles the North Node, suggesting fated connections or decisions. With the moon in Aquarius these days, you may feel detached enough to view events objectively and appreciate unconventional perspectives. So that sounds like a lot of family things being thrown around at Christmas, and the Aquarius moon bringing that level of detachment in order to have conversations around the holidays without being overly attached to the topics of those conversations. And being an Aquarius rising, I know that very well, the feeling of detachment and just, objectively viewing things from an objective perspective. By Wednesday, Venus squares Neptune, bringing confusion or idealization to matters of love and money. Shortly thereafter, Venus enters Capricorn, shifting relationship priorities towards commitment, loyalty, and tangible support. Mercury semi-sextile with Pluto urges serious conversations that cut to the core. This combination of influences can be sobering, but it also grounds you after the dreamy haze earlier on this week. Thursday, December 25th, which would be Christmas, brings the Sun biquintile to Uranus, an aspect that fosters spontaneous insight and innovation, which of course Uranus is the planet of innovation and spontaneity, I guess. So you might, well, because it's shifts and disruptions, so spontaneity would make the most sense. You might receive a sudden solution to a lingering problem or feel inspired to experiment with a new tradition. Meanwhile, the moon's energy into Pisces early that morning heightens empathy and intuition. Allow yourself to rest, dream, and connect with loved ones on a soulful level. On Friday, Venus semi-sextiles Pluto, continuing subtle recalibrations in relationships and in finances. On Saturday, a flurry of aspects encourages action. Mercury quincunxes Jupiter, asking you to refine expansive plans, while Venus biquintiles Uranus, bringing creativity and excitement. Mercury also trines Chiron, enabling healing conversations. Coupled with the first quarter moon in Aries on Saturday morning, these influences give you the courage to take definitive steps towards your new moon intentions, and the moon's fire adds momentum and urgency. By Sunday, the moon has moved into Taurus, helping you stabilize after the previous day's initiatives. Venus's entrance into Capricorn earlier this week continues to emphasize the values of steady effort and reliability. And there's that Venus now moving into Capricorn, like I mentioned, because we had it move into Sagittarius right at the beginning of December. And now we have these planets shifting into Capricorn while in Capricorn season. It's perfect. So this is a good time to review financial plans, set holiday budgets, and check in with partners about shared goals. So week 4 blends the reflective calm of the year end with bursts of inspiration and decisive action. Unpredictable relationship shifts and creative insights early in this week give way to more grounded energy as Venus moves into Capricorn. The first quarter moon in Aries, coupled with Mercury and Venus's interactions, propels you forward, encouraging you to implement intentions you set at the new moon. Balancing rest with action and dreaminess with realism will leave you feeling both rejuvenated and ready for what lies ahead. So for the final days of December, they offer a pause to integrate the month's lessons and prepare for the new year. So this is the last couple of days that are left over and don't fit cleanly into a week, right? So on Monday, Mars sextiles the North Node, supporting action aligned with long-term aspirations. This aspect encourages you to review your achievements and adjust your direction if necessary. The moon in Taurus, you'll feel grounded and able to make pragmatic decisions about resources and commitments. On Tuesday, Mercury squares Saturn, which can manifest as serious conversations, mental fatigue, or delays in communication. Use this energy to review details, finalize plans, and take responsibility for your words. Because the Sun and Venus are now in Capricorn, there's a collective focus on accountability and integrity. A measured approach will serve you well. New Year's Eve on Wednesday is colored by Mercury's quincunx to Uranus and quintile to the North Node. Expect unexpected invitations, last-minute scheduled changes, or flashes of insight that reshape your resolutions, which, of course, that would happen on New Year's. I've always said New Year's Eve is one of the worst nights of the year because you just get so overhyped about crazy, over-the-top plans that are just way blown out of proportion compared to a normal night. And it always seems to turn bad. There's always something that goes wrong. There's always someone that, someone that's crying by the end of the night. It's always just, New Year's, and it's not even anybody who knows their astrology would know that it's not even the real New Year's, because the spring equinox would actually be the first day of the year. So don't get overhyped on New Year's, because it's the real Fool's Day. And to any of you who don't know, that's where April Fool's Day came from, because the first day of the year is supposed to be the first day of spring, which is the first day of Aries season, which again is the spring equinox. But April Fool's Day came from when they were shifting that that expectation of the first day of the year being on the first day of spring, when they shifted it to the first day of January, and they started to make fun of everyone who stuck to the old calendar, and they would be the April Fools, and this is where April Fool's Day came from. So the moon enters Gemini mid-afternoon on New Year's Eve, bringing lively conversation and curiosity to celebrations. Because Mercury also forms a creative quintile to the North Node, trust that unconventional ideas could lead you toward your greater purpose. End the year by journaling or talking about your intentions. Fresh perspectives will help you craft meaningful goals for the new year, or the Fool's New Year. These final 3 days provide breathing room after a whirlwind month. The Mars North Node sextile supports mindful actions, while Mercury's square to Saturn encourages honest reflection about your communication and learning patterns. By the time Mercury dances with Uranus and the North Node on New Year's Eve, you'll be ready to welcome surprises and reframe your objectives. Allow curiosity the flexibility to guide your transition into 2026. So, as a final conclusion to December 2025, it invites a dance between expansion and consolidation. This month begins with a talkative Gemini super full moon and ends with Mercury whispering messages of change on New Year's Eve. Along the way, Mercury re-enters Sagittarius, of course, because it retrograded out and then is going direct back into Sagittarius early in December. So Mars and Venus move into Capricorn, and the Sun shifts into Capricorn at the solstice. Each week presents its own challenges and opportunities, but the overarching theme is balance, balancing optimism with realism, independence with responsibility, and intuition with practicality. Use this month's energy to refine your goals, strengthen your commitments, and set intentions that align with both your heart and your long-term vision. So that wraps up our entire month of December. Thank you for staying here with me, guys. If you've enjoyed this content, then please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and leave your comments about any thoughts that you had about this video. What did you like? What did you not like? Do you like my new setup? Is it too much? What do you think? Do you have something to say to Kenny? I'm sure he would love to hear your comments. So thanks a lot, guys. My next video is going to be just a basic breakdown of my first week of December, and that'll be up pretty much within a day or two of this video going live. So again, thanks a lot, guys. Take care.